Hey, here again today in Cucuta, Colombia. It's a little bit on the overcast side today. Normally the weather averages out at around about 30 degrees centigrade. Okay, so today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about safety or tips on how to be safe in Latin America. Now, anyone who knows me intimately knows that I travel fairly regularly and I've been to some pretty sketchy and dangerous parts of the world. Luckily enough, I've come out unscathed. Some of those parts of the world have been Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, San Juan, Puerto Rico, or more specifically Loíza, Puerto Rico. Anyone that knows Loíza, Puerto Rico, there's a part of Loíza, Puerto Rico, a particular road which is called Calle 187, which means Street 187. And anybody who knows about the number 187 knows that that's the penal code for California, or it's the penal code for murder in California. So there was no coincidence that this particular street was called 187, because there was a lot of crime and a lot of murder in that area. I was unbeknownst to me at that point in time, but I did my research afterwards instead of doing my research before. But hey, you live and you learn. So what I've learned, what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is what I've learned throughout my travels over the years, and basic tips on how to be safe in and around Latin America. And really and truly, these things are applicable to anywhere you go in the world, okay? Not just developing nations or nations which have been flagged up as being a little bit more dangerous than your average. So for example, I've traveled through the Mexican border many times, and anybody that knows about the Mexican border knows that there's a lot of drug trafficking, especially in places like Juarez and other places that border places like Texas and Arizona. So here we go.
¿Se fue? Por estar con la cámara no se sentó bien.
Rule number one, what I try to do when I travel is I try to have a backup debit card, just in case I lose my first debit card, excuse me. What I've recently started to do is I do not travel with cash. I do not change large sums of cash. So what I was doing before when I was traveling to the Caribbean, Latin America, etc., or even North America, is in my home or domestic country of the UK, I would change pounds into dollars, into pesos, etc., and then I would turn up to that airport as what I call valuable or expensive, meaning having valuables on me or having money in my pocket, which isn't a smart idea. So what I've recently started to do, and I got this through a mentor of mine who travels, he travels practically every week of the year, is I've got a debit card which I upload money to. Now what you'll find with a lot of these debit cards, there's one particular company, and I'm not sponsoring them, or I'm not affiliated with them in any which way, but there's one particular company called Money Corp, and what you can do with Money Corp is you can purchase a card. Well, the card's actually free, so you obtain this card, you fill out an application form, etc., they give you this card, you upload your pounds to it from your debit card, and when you're in whatever country it is, so for example I'm here in Cucuta, Colombia, I can spend on that card at lower percentages than what I would on my debit or my credit card. Also, I can withdraw money from the card at lower percentages that are charged, excuse the wind, that are charged on my debit or my credit card, and it's safer. If you lose the card, within around about 4 working days, no matter where you are in the world, they can send another card to you. And I don't know if you know about my exploits in Barbados, but I actually had to do that, so they had to send me that card. So that's number one. Number two, now this is going to sound obvious, but do not look like a target. Now, I'm going to sound like a real hypocrite saying this, but a lot of tourists that come down to, now there are not, where I am, there are no tourists. This is off the beaten track. Luckily enough for me, I speak the language, so I can move around. And a lot of people, I know there's this typical Latin America look, but there are a lot of black people in Latin America. So they typically believe, before I open my mouth, they typically believe I'm from Cali or from the coast. It's only when I open my mouth and they hear my Spanish and hear my accent, moreover, that they know that I'm not from here. So don't stand out. And what I mean by not standing out is you can tell an extranjero here, and an extranjero is basically a Spanish word for a foreigner or an alien. You can tell a foreigner here. Normally they wear Ray-Ban glasses like I'm wearing right now. They wear shorts. I don't know if you can see my shorts, but they wear shorts, and some of them wear bright clothes. Now the reason why I'm able to get away, call it reverse racism, call it whatever you want, is I typically, because of skin color, they typically associate me with a certain area. So if you're coming to Latin America or you're coming to Colombia, moreover, don't walk around. If you're in tourist zones, that's fine. That's because the tourist zones are normally frequented by a lot of police. But if you're traveling off the beaten track, I won't walk around in Ray-Ban glasses. I won't walk around with name brands like your Versace's, your Polo Ralph Lauren's, etc. and shorts. Even though it's burning hot, you can spot a tourist a mile off. Ray-Ban glasses, shorts, normally dressed in white, bright colors, etc, etc. But big huge backpacks, etc, etc. If you are traveling with huge backpacks, what I would say to you is travel from your hotel, get a cab, and try and make your stops less frequent. What I mean by that is, don't hang out on the street talking to the locals in your flip-flops and your huge backpack, etc, etc, because you're just going to stand out and you're just going to be a target. So a lot of this stuff is common sense, but you'll be surprised at how many people fall into problems by not following these simple rules. So remember, Ray-Ban glasses, t-shirts obviously are okay, but shorts, flip-flops. I mean, I've seen guys in nightclubs in areas which are a little bit on the suspect side here in Colombia in flip-flops and shorts, which can make you stand out somewhat, especially if you do not speak the language. So that's number two. If you can, try and travel in packs. Now, I have not followed this rule. Call it luck, call it maybe it's just my body language, etc, etc. Normally when I walk around with a lot of confidence, so people tell me. But if you're traveling to Latin America or this side of the hemisphere of the world, try and have a traveling partner, or try to check into a hotel where there are other maybe expats or other travelers, and maybe you can start off from there. They can recommend various different places to you, and you can travel in packs. You're less vulnerable when you travel in a pack. When you travel solo, you tend to be, what you have to understand is, and sorry, just quickly change the subject, is a lot of criminality, especially in Latin America, is based upon opportunistic moments. So they are, a criminal doesn't wake up, or your petty thief doesn't wake up in the morning and say to himself, my main objective is to go out and steal a phone from a foreign person. However, if they see you on your mobile phone, if they see you by yourself, automatically you're a target. Another thing is, and what happens a lot here in Colombia, there's more petty crime that you have to be wary of. Kidnapping, drug cartels, explosions, all the stuff that you've seen in Narcos, that's 30 years ago. Forget all of that. This place has been gentrified. I mean, look at it right now. I mean, you've seen some of the drone shots, etc, etc, of the area that I'm in. Another point is concerning petty crime. When you're in a taxi, especially more over here in Colombia or Latin America, do not have your window wound down whilst talking on the phone. There are a lot of motorcycles here who just whiz by. They can see you from the rear, you're on your mobile phone, they'll just reach in, grab it, and then they're off. I've seen that happen many a time. If you're gonna use the phone, if you're gonna be on WhatsApp, if you're gonna use Viber, etc, etc, updating your status on your social media, have your window wound up, or just leave a slight crack. Obviously it does get hot. So that's rule number 3. There is one extra little thing that I want to talk to you guys about. and that's keeping your money secure if you decide to travel with money. I mean, there are certain places where you can go where your let's say your Money Corp card, debit card, or pay-as-you-go card, which I've recommended to you, you can't actually use. You may want to grab some food on the corner, etc, etc. Now what I've done, I've bought this nifty little kind of satchel, or some people call it a fanny pack, but it's not a fanny pack, that goes around your waist. I mean, you can't see my waist at present, but if I step back, it looks like I haven't got anything on, right? But if I step back, check this out. And if you can see that, get a close-up of that, it's strapped around the back, and it's invisible to the eye. So we get a close-up of that. As you can see, that works really well because it straps around the waist. It's invisible to anybody who doesn't know you have it. It's got 2 zippers on it, and you can just place money in there. You can place credit cards in there, etc, etc. Okay, the fourth and final tip that I would give, and this is a mistake that even seasoned travelers make, is zipped luggage, okay, as opposed to cased luggage. And what I mean by this is simply luggage that has a zip on it. When that passes through customs in whatever territory you're going to, it's a case of it's really easy to get into that type of luggage, the type of luggage which has a zip on it. All you need to do, and I don't know if you've seen this trick, is poke a pen through the middle of it. It unzips the zipper. You can unzip it, infiltrate the bag, take whatever you want, and then just zip it right back up. However, if you've got a cased or an encapsulated piece of luggage which has a lock on it, and obviously you're seeing the example right now, it's not virtually impossible to get into, but it's really difficult to get into. So you've got to imagine when your bags go through the conveyor belt and you can no longer see them, there are people placing those pieces of luggage obviously onto the plane. Some of these people, not all of them, are opportunistic. So if they see a piece of luggage with a zip on it and it's easy to access, even if it's got a lock on it, it's very easy to access, they're going to go into it, they're going to see what they can get while it's on the conveyor belt, quickly dive into it. Okay, this looks nice, this would be a nice souvenir for my child, for my husband, for whoever, and just take it. Because you have to remember, in the West, or moreover in Western Europe, United States, etc, etc, these industrialized developed nations, we earn sometimes 10, 15, even 20 times more than a lot of the individuals here. So for example, here in not so much Kukuta especially, but more over the country, the average wage is around about $250 to $300. So you imagine somebody works an average of 30 days just to receive $350. It's not much. Whereas the average wage in the United Kingdom, the last time I checked, was around about 29,000 pounds, which roughly pans out to around about 1,800 pounds a month. So just take that into perspective. There's a lot of opportunists here that will take the opportunity to take from you if you give them that opportunity. So those are my tips. Travel well. Ciao. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also leave a comment. Even if you're not watching it on YouTube, go over to YouTube, like and subscribe and leave a comment. You can also find me on social media. Yep, that's me, Ben Kofi. Just send me a request.